Long, long ago, there was one person, one boy, one child that was born with a quirk. A quirk that was the first of many to come. But this quirk may be seen by everyone else as a curse. This boy has been living for hundreds of years now. This boy was named Izuku Midoriya. He was immortal, but that wasn't it. He wasn't just immortal, but he was born with a quirk that would, bring to life other people's wishes. It was as if he was in eternal torment of this. For hundreds of years, he would grant people's wishes, and from what he knows is that this was his sole purpose, his life's goal. But until one day he met a young child, a child that was, very kind to him, and the child used one of his wishes for Izuku. Not to free him of this torment because, that wasn't possible. He could not be wished out of this. Izuku waited for the wish to happen, and the boy spoke. The boy said that his wish was to know how Izuku would get out of the situation of being everyone's personal genie. And after that occurred, Izuku finally knew. The boy told him that he has to, grant the wishes of, millions of people. Actually, more accurately, 10 million people. Izuku is shocked by this. Izuku is taken back, but that makes sense. Izuku has gone through probably over 3 to 4 million people already over his hundreds of years of living, and he realizes that he has hundreds of more to go through. So that's what happens. The Izuku Midoriya in this story is different. The Izuku Midoriya in this story isn't a young child that sought after wanting a quirk, but a young child that sought after beridding his quirk. He loved helping people. He did, truly. It's hard to not when you see the people's faces when you grant them their wishes, but he doesn't like being stuck here. Rumor has it though that when this is all over, everything will go back to normal. His immortality will be stripped from him and he'll get his very own quirk. Is that reality? He's not so sure, but he can only hope for the best. So Izuku began his journey once again with, a purpose now. A purpose to grant as many wishes as possible. Until finally he came to the New Age heroes, these New Age students of UA. Izuku meets a third-year student by the name of Toshinori Yagi. He introduces himself and says that he's heard of the struggles of this young man. Toshinori looks at him confused and asks what his name is. Izuku Midoriya, it's a pleasure. Now, I can grant you 3 wishes. I am your personal genie for now. Toshinori asks what kind of wishes he could, ask for, and Izuku says that more or less everything. But it cannot be reality bending, it cannot be, affecting your quirk, but it can affect your body. There's some fine lines, I'll tell you, if you are within those lines. So Toshinori begins asking if he could get rid of someone's quirk. And Izuku says that is definitely out of his power. That's not something he's even thought about even trying. And Toshinori apologizes, but Izuku tells him that it's okay. Questions are good to ask. And Toshinori continues on. He more or less wishes for unselfish things, which a lot of things that he wants on the bigger scale can't happen. Obviously, Toshinori would want something in the realm of world peace, but Izuku cannot do that. He's not that powerful. He is no god by any means. He's immortal, but not a god. So, he continues on. He asks for the good health of his sensei and some other minor things that Toshinori knows that the genie Izuku can, wish for. So, that's exactly what happens. Izuku wishes for all of that, and he goes on with his life. But for some reason, this one person stood out to Izuku. He stood out to him. It seemed like he had a true heart, a heart of someone that was completely unselfish, and Izuku wanted to keep that in mind. He wanted to watch over him for a little bit, just because he was concerned. He was concerned that, well, this young child would, well, put himself in a position too far beyond his power. But that's kind of what Izuku eventually sees. He begins, well, granting wishes of many and many more people, and he watches on as this child begins fighting various villains and strong opponents, and he realizes why he wished for the safety of his master that was, well, fighting, who we know as All for One, actually survives this battle on the brink of death, but eventually recovers. Izuku realizes that this person is of greater importance than he even began to think. But it's not like he can help wish or give wishes to someone he's already given wishes to. So he's carried on with his life, and years pass, and Izuku has helped countless people, obviously choosing those who he deems to be worthy of it, but he does just that. Eventually seeing this person by the name of Toshinori Yagi turn into the symbol of peace we all know as All Might, and he's impressed. Izuku is thoroughly impressed by the growth of this person. Not only that, it's as if this person knew that there was a danger in terms of the people that were around him, and those wishes were made for a purpose. Izuku continued on with whatever he needs to do, whatever he needs to make sure that he can, well, live a normal life in the near future. And this continues on for a while, eventually coming across a young boy that is probably around the age of about 15, someone near the end of middle school, maybe even the beginning of high school. And he sees this boy walking through, well, under a bridge, and is attacked by a villain. This boy by the name of Katsuki Bakugo is attacked and took, well, hostage by this sludge villain. Izuku watches on in, well, hesitance. He can't necessarily walk up to the boy and ask if he wants a wish. It would be as if he was kind of breaking code. It would be forcing the kid to wish for him to be out of the situation, losing one of his wishes. So Izuku slightly bites his tongue and is about to just do something himself, but that's not needed. Someone comes crashing down from the sky with a wide smile on his face. I am here! All Might. He's come to the scene. Izuku slightly smiles and watches as All Might blows the villain away in an instant, saving the boy, and Izuku is oddly proud of this. It's like he's some proud father of some sorts, but he knows that this is probably one of the best people he's ever given wishes to. And the boy that was captured is going to be the next of those 3 wishes. He flies down to the boy after he's isolated, and he hovers above him and introduces himself. My name is Izuku Midoriya. It's a pleasure, Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo steps back and is about to fight him, but realizes that the other person isn't even fighting back, or not even in a fighting stance. No reason to be afraid. I'm actually here to give you 3 wishes. Why would I want 3 wishes? And who are you? Izuku smiles and says that he's a genie of some sort, and that he's here to grant him any 3 wishes he so chooses. Bakugo asks if there's a catch, but Izuku shakes his head, says that there is no catch, it's just 3 wishes. Bakugo is confused, but asks for his first wish. Okay, I wish to be rich. Izuku snaps his fingers, and Bakugo's clothes change to a very stylish looking clothing, and his parents call him and say that they just won the lottery. Whoa, so you're actually a genie? Yes, I am. Like I said, I guess that was a good way of, well, you know, making it so you believe me. Okay. Can you affect my quirk? No, unfortunately I cannot. Anything quirk related I cannot really affect. Is there anything else you have in mind? Bakugo then continues with his other wish, and he asks for his best friend to come back to life. And Izuku puts his head down. I'm sorry, I can't do that either. That is out of my power. Think about it like I am no god. This is a quirk. I have my limitations. I'm truly sorry for your loss. Bakugo puts his head down and tears up a bit, but wipes it away quickly and looks at Izuku and says that he doesn't need anything else. He can use the wishes on himself. But Izuku shakes his head and says that that's not how that works. He can't. Fine. I don't know what to wish for then. There's nothing else I want. Everything else I can get into UA on my own. I don't need a wish to do that either. Izuku smiles and says that maybe he could wish for, well, something for another person. His family? Anybody else? Bakugo begins to think and thinks about the family of his best friend, and all he wants to do is wish for their, well, mourning process to be good, enough where they feel satisfied and at peace with them, well, the loss of their child, and that they'll never have to work a day in their life. So those are the two wishes he makes, and Izuku is able to make both of them. You know, Katsuki Bakugo, you are a good person. Bakugo scoffs and says to not tell this to anybody, but Izuku just smiles. I am a genie. You won't be seeing me around very much. But I'm glad to hear that you have a good heart, a heart of gold. Izuku leaves and Bakugo watches on. As well, Izuku flies away. In this story, Bakugo was best friends with someone very similar to Izuku. Very similar to his old friend that would have been here with him right now. But he passed on. There cannot be two types of the same person in one world like this. It was conflicting. It was not right. So when all the cards got placed on the floor and all the cards got flipped over, the death of Katsuki Bakugo's best friend was imminent. Izuku Midoriya not being in Katsuki Bakugo's life, not in Bakugo's life at all, meant for the loss of a best friend that Bakugo, well, could never get back, even with a wish of a genie. But Izuku had to move on. He's seen a lot of these, but this one was different. This one seemed pure. It seemed like there was a connection that Izuku was missing, a connection with this young boy, a connection with Katsuki Bakugo. He wasn't sure why, but there was something there. But it didn't matter. Izuku left and continued on with all his genie work, giving people wishes and more wishes, eventually leading him to, well, another person that would definitely be interesting. With the class 1A finally being instituted into UA, of course, there was one person that Izuku got guided to and decided to choose for his next, well, person to give 3 wishes to, like I said, and that was a boy by the name of Aoyama, a shining knight of a hero that supposedly he wanted to be. And one night, Izuku even approached him and asked him, what wishes does he seek? Hello, my name is Izuku Midoriya. I'd like to ask you a couple questions. Aoyama is shocked by this, but really is confused more or less, and Izuku reveals that he can give him 3 wishes, and 3 wishes, that is it. He cannot give a quirk, he cannot affect quirks, and he can't do anything reality bending, but wish what he desires and he will try his best. Aoyama is shocked by this and begins asking if he could wish to be guaranteed to be a great hero. That is not necessarily something I can grant. Being a great hero comes with the personality. It'd be changing your being a lot. I'm not saying it would change you entirely, but changing someone's personality is something I personally don't want to do. Aoyama is confused and asks, how does he know? He knows something, doesn't he? I know everything. I'm no god, but I do know information. I know who you are. That's why I chose you. Now, would you like to make a wish? Aoyama stands in front of him and begins crying. And he wishes for the safety of himself and his family from All for One. Izuku snaps his fingers and says that has been granted. Aoyama's confused. How is that possible? Wait, what does he mean? It's been granted. And Izuku smiles. All for One no longer knows you even exist. Same thing with your family. Aoyama is shocked by this and thanks him. No problem, but you still have 2 more wishes. What would you like? I wish for all the best cheeses in the world. Izuku smiles and says that's an easy wish. He grants the wish and says that his family now has a factory full of all the cheeses in the world. Aoyama is shocked and says that he has one more wish, right? Yes, you have one more wish. What would that be? He then begins saying he wants everybody in his class to find success in whatever they want to do. Hero work or anything. Izuku smiles and says that's a very hard wish to grant, but I can definitely give it a shot. Izuku waves his hands and focuses a little bit, and there you go. There you go. Whatever they want to do, they will have or find success in, but you have to realize success is a broad idea. So I hope that whatever success they find, they can stem off of it and do even better. Izuku smiles once again and begins to leave, and Aoyama asks where he's going. I'm off to help anybody else. I hope you have an amazing life, Mr. Aoyama. Izuku leaves as if he was never there, but he'll soon realizes he'll be back in the same spot once again with another person. But he'll have to, grant wishes for somebody else first. Somebody that he necessarily wouldn't choose normally, but can see a glimpse of, hope within this one. He dives down into an area and walks right through a doorway without even being sensed. And there stand a man with hands all over his body, and he scoffs at when the person walks in, asking why he's here. Why the hell did you just come into my lair? This is the base of the League of Villains. Do you really want to die? Hello, Tomura Shigaraki. Or should I call you Tenko Shimura? Which one do you prefer? Shigaraki is furious and asks how he knows that name, and Izuku smiles saying that he knows everything, more or less about him. But that's not what he's here for. He's not here to lecture. He's not here for any of that. He's actually here for something else. And what is that? I'm here to give you 3 wishes. Izuku finally, begins speaking with Shigaraki, Tomura Shigaraki, and Shigaraki begins to, ask for a couple wishes. He asks for the death of All Might, which Izuku says that he could not give. He cannot deliberately kill somebody. It's not something he does based on, moral code and also genie code. So what can you do? You're practically useless. Well, I can help you with a multitude of other things. I can make you rich. I can give you materialistic things. I can tell you about certain things you may not have information about. And Shigaraki stops him right there and asks about one person, Nana Shimura. This person, kind of the sole root of why I'm like this. I want to know more about her. Where is she? Is she dead? And what happened to her? Oh, yes, that is something I could do very easily. Just say that you wish for it. Fine. I wish to know more about my, grandmother, Nana Shimura. Perfect. Your wish is granted. Izuku begins explaining. Nana Shimura was a hero of some sorts, actually one of the top, if not the top hero at one point. Nana Shimura, left you and your family in, hopes to keep you all safe. That's what at least it says here in my quote-unquote genie book. Also, Nana Shimura was a teacher to the one called All Might. Also taught various other people, but All Might was the most well-known. Nana Shimura also did not know much about your troubles throughout your childhood, and it seems that All for One fought her as well. Master fought her? For what? I'll get to that right now, just as a little bonus. All for One actually fought her because, the same reason you're kinda trying to kill All Might. She was standing in the way of whatever goal All for One has. And, Nana Shimura didn't die, but she was crippled horribly. Actually, she'll never walk again. Now, what's your third? Izuku gets cut off, and Shigaraki says that he can't just bypass over that. What is he talking about? That, Nana Shimura is practically paralyzed? Not practically, she is paralyzed. Or an amputee, I guess. But she can not walk at all. She has very limited use of her arms. So, she's on the bridge of paralysis. Shigaraki is shocked by this, and he remembers back to everything All for One said, saying that Nana Shimura left him on the streets. Nana Shimura did this, Nana Shimura did that. But was that all false? Was that all falsified just so Shigaraki would be the person he is today? Hello? Are you still there? Yes. Yeah. I'm still here. So, I have a second wish, right? Yes, you have a second wish. What would you like to know? Or see or do or anything, really? I want the location to where Nana Shimura is. You want the location? Okay. It's actually pretty close to you. If you do about 10 blocks down the road and take a left, there's a hospital there. And she should be there. She has an appointment today at 5 p.m. You really do know everything, don't you? Yeah, you could say that. But I will say, the look you have right now, not the best idea to approach her with. Fine. Then for my last wish, I want you to make me, how I'm supposed to look. Get rid of these scratches on my neck. All that. Izuku then nods, and he waves his hand over Shigaraki, turning him into, it looks like a normal person once again, the adult self that he would have looked like. Not only that, he gave him special gloves that would restrict his quirk, ones that won't completely and utterly, disintegrate. Shigaraki questions him about this, and Izuku says that it's just a nice parting gift for him. That's about it. So, Izuku then disappears. That was his last wish, and he's no longer needed. And Shigaraki heads over to the place that Nana Shimura is. Nana Shimura is in, a hospital room, sitting there. And the doctor begins telling her things until, the door opens up. The doctor asks who the young man is, and Nana Shimura says that that she thinks he knows, or she knows. And the doctor walks out and says that they'll give them both a minute. Nana Shimura asks, well, if he's Tenko Shimura, her, well, grandchild. Shigaraki nods and says that that's him. He just wants to ask her a couple questions about all of this, about if what happened was really her fault, and if he should be blaming her. Of course, she says to a certain extent it is her fault. She should have done more in her power to defeat All For One, more in her power to save Shigaraki, whatever he was going through. But there was too much danger, too many people coming after her. It was practically impossible. She told him that she would cry every day about it, every day that she couldn't help. And well, her own son, well, didn't like her very much for her hero work. But she knew that she had a responsibility to protect everyone she possibly could, even if it led to this. And she slightly points at her missing legs and partly paralyzed arm. And Shigaraki begins to tear up and cry. And well, them two have some reconciling to do. But Izuku's job with them is already over. He has someone else to attend to, the next person in line for 3 wishes. So he leaves, hoping that everything turns out just fine. He then arrives at Yue once again. It seems that, well, he's not done with this place for now. It seems that someone else is in need of his help. And that boy sits in class 1A like the other one did, or the other one also is, but this one goes by the name of Shoto Todoroki. Shoto Todoroki, well, deals with some family issues, you could say. And one day Izuku approaches him and asks him if he has 3 wishes in mind that he would like. Todoroki thinks it's some joke. He scoffs at Izuku and says to go away, that he doesn't need anything from him. But Izuku says that he is a genie, and that, well, he's here to help. Todoroki turns and says if that's true, that he wishes for, well, his mother to come back and his family to be perfect once again. Izuku says that perfect is a very odd word to use. What is perfect in his eyes? Todoroki rolls his eyes and says that perfect would be his father actually caring about his kids, not beating them, not giving me this scar. Perfect is, well, his mother coming back, the mother that left and was put into practically a hospital, an insane asylum, because how driven crazy she was by his father. I want everything. He says he wants everything to be normal, everything to be nice again, like a normal family would be, a family that cares about each other. Izuku smiles and waves his hand. Done. What's your second wish? Shoto blasts fire at him. Pissed, doesn't even realize that he used his fire side, and Izuku just easily dodges it. Why are you attacking me? There's no way that's true. You didn't fix it. How would you? His phone begins to ring, and he looks, and it's his mother calling. He answers the phone, and she begins asking when he'll be home for dinner. Mom? Izuku smiles and says that he did fix it. Now, would he like to head home? Todoroki goes home as Izuku follows him, well, like from a good distance behind, and everyone greets him home. His mother, his father, everything seems to be at peace. Don't get me wrong, no family is perfect. That's why Izuku couldn't make the wish initially, but he can make a family better. Maybe make them realize their mistakes, maybe make Endeavor realize that he was doing the wrong thing. Todoroki is shocked by this and looks back and looks around to find Izuku. And Izuku's there, and he sits behind him, saying that it's really no problem, there's no reason to thank him. Shoto kind of smirks and asks if he still has 2 wishes. Yes, you do have still two wishes left. Todoroki begins thinking, and his family asks who he's talking to, and Shoto begins to say something, but Izuku says that they can't see him, so there's no reason to really tell him. And he says that nothing, he just was mumbling about something. After having dinner, Izuku and Todoroki head to his room, and they begin talking about his next wish. Can you bring someone back from the dead? No, I cannot. I cannot, unfortunately. Who did you have in mind? My brother, Toya. He died Izuku cuts him off. Toya Todoroki. He is not dead. He is very much alive. Todoroki is confused. Shoto begins asking what is he talking about. He died years ago, but Izuku explains that Toya was not killed or didn't die by his own means. Toya is actually under an alias currently. An alias? Like, what do you mean? A villain alias by the name of Dabi. Toya Todoroki is Dabi. Now, what else would you like to wish for? Did that count as a wish? No, that's just information I decided to tell you. He begins asking if he could make it so Dabi or Toya is not a villain. That's an interesting wish. Something I haven't really tried, but I can give it a shot. Izuku waves his hand, but then shakes his head. No, unfortunately I cannot do that much. He's too far gone. But you personally can make him, well, out of villainhood. I've planted the seeds. Basically, now it's up to you. Okay. So, can I use my last wish to bring him here? Bring him here. Not sure if that's the best idea, but I can give you a location of where he'll be over the next 72 hours. Yeah, do that. Izuku wishes that exactly and gives him a full blueprint of where Toya Todoroki will be. And Izuku heads off. Todoroki asks where is he going, and Izuku says that his 3 wishes are done, so he'll be taking his leave, and that he wishes him the best of luck. Izuku leaves, but as always, he watches over the Todoroki family, and Shoto explains to his family that he found the location of Toya. It might sound crazy, but he's not dead. He explains the entire situation, in which they in the beginning don't believe him, but Todoroki or Shoto says that they have to trust him on this one. So they decide they will, and they begin their search for Dabi, aka Toya Todoroki, in which they do end up finding him, but he begins trying to kill them immediately. They try to speak some nonsense into him, and that they're a family, and that he can come back, but nothing really is working. But after a long drawn out fight, Toya finally gives in and decides to, be kind of a family with them again, or at least accept that they're trying to change. He doesn't say that he'll go home. He doesn't say that he'll be around them very much ever, but he does say that he'll consider it. And maybe they can be a happy family again. Toya Todoroki rejoins the Todoroki family, at least to a certain extent. Izuku smiles and bolts off once again, looking for the next person to, grant wishes, until he finally approaches somebody else. Approaches someone that is truly in need, by the name of Eri. Izuku kneels by Eri while she's sleeping in her bed, and she turns to see him and gets slightly scared, but Izuku puts his hands up, saying that he's only here to help, and that he's a magical genie. Well, sort of. And that can grant you 3 wishes. Eri's eyes grow wide, and she begins to shake and says that he needs to get out of here before he finds him and kills him. But Izuku says that the only person that can see him is her, and so there's no reason to worry. Izuku asks once again, "Now, Miss Eri, what are your 3 wishes?" Izuku Midoriya is standing in front of a little girl by the name of Eri. Eri looks at him once again and is still kind of terrified, but he tells her once again that she has 3 wishes, really anything she desires. And the first thing she wants to wish for is actually everybody that Overhaul killed to be revived. But unfortunately, Izuku can't do that. He kneels next to her and pats her on the head. "I'm really sorry. That's something that's out of my control and out of my power. And I'm really, really glad to see that you would make such an unselfish wish immediately. But is there anything else you'd like?" Eri looks down and begins to think, and then says that she just wishes that she wasn't a cursed child. Izuku smiles and pats her on the head again. "Eri, I can't make that wish either. You're not a cursed child." Eri's eyes go wide, and it took this much for her to realize that maybe she isn't a cursed child. A magical genie can't wish her not to be, so does that mean she's really not? She slightly smiles and says that she wants to be free from all of this, that she doesn't want to be around Overhaul anymore, she wants to be safe. Izuku smiles and says that he can do just that. They both teleport away, and Eri's in actually a nearby police station, and there's a small note next to her, and it says that it was addressed from an anonymous hero saying that Overhaul captured this girl, but he snuck Eri away. But obviously, if they're reading this letter, the hero most likely perished. This was a way for, Izuku not to reveal himself, but also to reveal that Eri was in danger based on around Overhaul. He then asks Eri once again, what's her second wish? And she doesn't even know. Maybe I wish I can control my quirk better? Izuku smiles and says that he can do that wish, but it's going to be limited. He can't make her master her quirk, but he can definitely help her out. So he waves his hand, and Eri actually gets pretty good control over her quirk just like this. Actually the equivalent to what she would have had if maybe she was a teenager. So nothing insane, like she doesn't have perfect sync with it, but she has decent control where she's not going to just go into outbursts. Okay, Eri, you have one more. Eri looks around and begins thinking. I wish I had a family. Izuku smiles and waves his hand. But when he does that, nothing works. It doesn't work for some reason. He can't give her a family, and he's actually confused by this. And an Izuku that's floating in the air then drops to his feet. What is happening? Izuku looks at his hands as his body seems to be kind of glitching out. It seems like his powers are fading. Mist begins to emerge around Izuku, and he poofs out of nowhere and then poofs back into place. He looks around and is confused, and then realizes that he tries to make a wish for someone else, but it doesn't work. He can't track anybody. He can't find a person to make wishes for. He looks at Eri, and she asks if the wish worked. Eri, I'm not sure. I don't know what happened. It seems my powers are gone. He realizes that, maybe he's finally did it. He's finally wished all the wishes he could for all the people he needed to. He thinks about it. He waved his hand and tried to give Eri a family. He opens his eyes to all of this and realizes that he's the family for Eri. And that's what he tells her. Well, Eri, I guess the wish did work. I am your family. Eri gets all excited and hugs him, saying that Izuku is best family and that he'll be the best father. And Izuku slightly smiles and says that, don't get your hopes up quite yet, that he still needs to figure some things out. Yeah, I just wish we had a nice place to stay and a good enough amount of money so we can just get you into school as soon as possible. As Izuku says this, for some reason, his mist begins to emerge from behind him once again, and they both teleport out of nowhere. They teleport in a nice house, a 2-story house, as a matter of fact, with a couple rooms, a couple bathrooms, and a nice kitchen. Izuku is shocked by this and realizes that he may actually have another quirk, and his quirk may have something to do with him being a genie. It might be some sort of wishing quirk, but maybe for himself? He realizes that after he did this wish, he actually was really tired and his stamina was drained completely. Oh my god, I must have a wishing quirk, but it's different. I'm not wishing for other people, I'm wishing for myself. But I have strain on my body when I use it? Izuku then realizes that he has his own wishing type of quirk, but there's obviously huge limitations on it. He's no personal genie by any means anymore, but he has a quirk. And that must mean that he's not immortal, and that he's going to start aging. This is what he wanted. He finally made it. And now he can live a nice life with his new daughter Eri, and well, just a nice peaceful life throughout hero society. But that would seem to be what would continue happening. Izuku would eventually find a woman, find someone to marry, and leading to Eri being old enough to attend hero school herself. Becoming a hero is something Eri dreamed of, wanted to so badly. She wanted to become something, well, more. All the people that Overhaul killed, all the people that hurt, all the people that hurt her, all the people that Overhaul hurt. She wanted to be the one to, well, be a pro hero and save everyone. And with her quirk, she can do amazing things. Izuku helps her train throughout all this time, all the way leading up to the UA entrance exam, and she even has Izuku drop her off. But as he's dropping her off, somebody is also there with their kid. Actually, somebody Izuku knows. 2 people, in fact. Katsuki Bakugo and Shoto Todoroki are currently dropping off their kids as well, and they both stare at him in complete awe. Izuku? Wait, you know him too, Bakugo? Izuku smiles and brings Eri in. You'll do great, honey, I promise. Eri bows to him and says thank you, and that she'll make him proud. She runs inside, and Bakugo and Shoto are shocked by this. Yeah, that is me, correct? But you're a genie. How are you? This doesn't make sense. At all. Yeah, actually. The rule of being a genie is I can basically wish people, well, give people 3 wishes, and eventually I can have my own quirk, I'll lose my immortality, and I can live life for myself. They're both shocked and begin asking when this happened, and he says about 13 or so years ago. He met Eri, gave her 3 wishes, and she wished to be a family, and it seemed that he was the person to, well, be that family for her. He lost his immortality that day and gained a quirk. They ask what his quirk is, and he explains that it's very similar to his Genie Quirk. It was more or less a wishing quirk, and that he can use his quirk, but also he'd take an immense strain on his body. But that's why he's no pro hero. It's not his goal. Bakugo and Shoto, though, ask him if he would like to be a pro hero. And he says that of course he would, but that he didn't even go to school for it, and he didn't do any of that. But they both offer him a job at their agency. Actually, they have joint agencies. After some time passed, they realized that if they both were able to maintain their agencies together, they can actually grow really fast and then maybe eventually go their separate ways. But they've seen insane growth, so there's no real reason to separate just now. So they offer Izuku a job, saying that his quirk, wishing quirk, maybe wouldn't be suited for a hero aspect, but could be suited for a support role by all means, and they'll make sure he gets on a training regimen so he can use his quirk even more. And he smiles and says that he'll consider the offer, but he wants to speak with Eri first because that's what matters to him. Also, his wife. They're shocked by this. Oh, you have a wife too? Yes, a beautiful wife at home. I'll ask them and see what they say. So, Izuku goes back home, speaks with his wife about this said thing, and eventually she obviously agrees. I mean, any good wife would, especially if you're passionate about something. Eventually, Eri arrives home and says that she feels like she did good, and Izuku says that he's proud of her. And then Izuku asks the question, asks if she would be okay with her father stepping in and being a hero with some, top pro heroes that know him. And Eri is super excited to hear this, and she says that he sort of accepted on the spot, that she's super excited to have a hero dad. And he smiles and says that he assumed she would say that. So, the next day, he approaches Bakugo and Shoto and says that he accepts, that the people in his life that care so much about him agreed. So, they put him right on the job, and Izuku becomes one of the best support heroes ever in the entire world with his quirk, being able to more or less cure a lot of problems throughout the entire world, not just hero problems, not just villain problems, but even people that are homeless, food issues. Companies would reach out to him and ask for their help, and of course Bakugo and Shoto would have no problem with this, and he could help with other people, help with hero tools, help with hero support items, just with a snap of the finger. Izuku Midoriya may not be immortal, may not be wishing, 3 wishes for random people or people he chooses anymore, but he definitely is still helping. Izuku Midoriya is finally able, after years and hundreds of years of being constrained by his quirk, is now, given freedom by his quirk. And that is where this story ends.